Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Denver Business Beat podcast, and it is March the 5th, 2025. My name is Arica Netterville, and I am your Business Development Manager at Restoration One of West Denver. And today, my very special guest and good Judy, and I'm so excited she's on the show today, Sandra. Gudat, how are you doing?
I'm well, thank you.
Where are you coming from today? I see there's a little stuff on your forehead.
Ash Wednesday services.
Yeah. Now, is that part of the Catholic religion?
Yeah.
Beautiful. I love that you are supporting, and you have to do it the whole day.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it, so it's very interesting.
Yeah.
We're going to dive into all things AI, and believe me, there's nothing easy about it. A little play on words. But before we get into the interview, I want to just know, where do you come from, and where'd you go to school, and where'd you grow up at?
Well, I was an Army brat. So by the time I was 18 years old, I'd moved 22 times. So it's literally a wonder I know how to read, because I went to 3 second grades, 3 different ones in 3 different states. So we grew up all over the place. My father did a couple of tours in Vietnam. He did a tour in Korea. We grew up in the U.S. as well as in Europe. So just everywhere.
Yeah. Kind of gave you a blended growing up. And I think that's why it's so easy for you to make friends.
Yeah, I do. I agree. Because you kind of get thrown into the deep into the pool about every 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
So you got to learn how to do that.
Yeah. The minute I met you, I just gravitated to you. I was like, ooh, she's professional. Ooh, I like her. Ooh. And then we've been talking and been buds ever since. Every time I see you out and about at a chamber event or a networking event, I'm always running up to you. And we're seeing what each other's wearing. Right. I love that.
You're always representing.
I'm always there. Today we're not, because there's a lot going on, and we're going to talk about that. Could you start by telling us about your journey and how you ended up leading Easy AI, and what inspired you to start up this company?
Sure. Well, prior to that, I ran a company called Customer.com. I did that for 30 years and decided to exit that business, and had some white space, and have always been a data nerd. Love data. I know don't hate, but I love data, and decided to embark on some coursework around AI with MIT. So I went to MIT and got their certification in AI for business development and business strategy, I should say. So did that, and what that unlocked for me was, wow, the power of AI.
Sure.
And gosh, this would have been so helpful when I was a CEO running a large company, large for me, 35 employee company. And so I thought, I can curate what I would have needed to know around AI, and then help others learn about that and help them get up the learning curve quickly and demystify what AI is.
Yeah. Talk about a trifecta. She's the CEO, she knows AI, and you can't have AI without cybersecurity, and you can't have cybersecurity without AI. So powerhouse right there, being able to maneuver and navigate through all of that as a company, and then, offering those services. It's so crucial right now, because more and more companies have their phone system that's being answered by AI, or email marketing is done by AI. So looking at those, and I'm an analytical girl, so I love analytics. I love to measure and gauge and see where and what and how things are coming. So I just really think that it's amazing you're right where you're supposed to be at right now, because a lot of us are so baffled, and we don't really know. And you see some companies that are just thriving, and they've got their Google just right where it's supposed to go in the sweet spot, and they've got an AI robot answering their phone messages and things of that nature. And you wonder, like, incorporating all of that really does pay off.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It really does,
Absolutely. And I think in particular for CEOs.
Yeah.
They're so running from pillar to post, as we say down in Texas. That's where my dad retired. And so they're so busy, they don't have the bandwidth to learn about AI, but yet it can be such a revolutionary thing for them in freeing up their own time.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I like to do when I work with a CEO is help them unlock their own personal productivity with different AI tools, and help them kind of see that. And then their brain explodes.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, now I see how I can use it, and now I can see how the rest of my people can use
Sure.
it, and how it can help them do their jobs.
Yeah, managing that pipeline is crucial if you're in a service industry, whatever that industry is. And, you know, for me, the last few years, pipeline, AI, cybersecurity, your checkout, your cart, none of that was really the conversation a few years back. And now it is, everybody wants to know, and people are expecting companies to be right on top of what's going on with those trends, so that they can implement them into those businesses. So hats off. I mean, it's a job, let me tell you. What is Easy AI's core mission, and how do you aim it at the impact of the world of artificial intelligence?
So it is to demystify AI for business leaders, specifically people in the C-suite.
Yeah.
So right now I've worked with over 200 CEOs and
Sure.
C-suite guys,
Sure.
gals as well, to help them unlock what that is and what
Yeah.
it means something a little bit different for each company.
Sure.
So what's fun for me is going in and figuring out how they can use it for their own
Sure.
personal productivity, and then help them start to think through some of the uses that they might
Yeah.
have for AI within the organization. Like you mentioned, having a chatbot, having it help facilitate customer service.
Yeah.
I see AI as an augmentation to human beings and not a replacement.
Sure.
And kind of getting back to the Ash Wednesday, that's important to me. I believe in the dignity of every human being. And I think as we go through this transition where companies are going to be using AI
Yeah.
more and more, it's really incumbent on business leaders to do that in the most highly ethical
Sure.
way with integrity as possible. We've kind of gone through this before with the Industrial Revolution, and there were some companies that actually stood out in how they treated their employees, going from a manual labor force to working with machines. One textile owner owned lots of different textile mills up in Scotland. Started reduced the work week for his employees. This is in the early 1800s. Who
Wow.
did that back then?
I mean, really.
He built facilities for people with children so that they could go and visit their children during their work day. Those kinds of things. I think it's going to be on us to step up and be able to help that messy
Yeah.
middle while we transition
Yeah, totally.
into more augmented artificial intelligence enabled types of activities.
Right. I was recently at a AI conference, and it did have the cyber security attached to it. And I was looking around the room, and I had had some conversations networking before we started. And there was a 25-year-old, there was like a 36-year-old, I'm 50, and there was probably some older folks in the room as well.
Yeah.
We were all in the same space trying to adapt this information regardless of our ages.
Yeah.
And you would think that the
Yeah.
25-year-old knew more than we did, but we were all in the same space of learning that information. So
True. Yeah.
I really just, it doesn't have an age, it doesn't have, a mental, you're not a BA or,
Yeah.
everybody's got to learn it and understand it before you could implement it in your business or your life. I mean, things that you're doing every day have it and you don't even know it. We're all holding that cell phone, and guess what? It's just full of AI. So, yeah. How do you see the landscape of AI evolving, and where does Easy AI fit into that picture in 2025?
Well, that's a big question.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that AI is going to get embedded into more of the things that we use on a day-by-day basis.
Yeah.
And if you're using Netflix, you're already got an AI
Right.
kind of interaction going
Sure.
on there. Even if you don't know it, it's behind the scenes.
Right.
So more and more applications are beginning to embed AI into what they're doing.
Sure.
So there's that. I think there's more and more tools coming onto the market just to help us
Yeah.
manage our calendars better,
Yeah.
manage our email boxes,
Yeah.
inboxes better. And so my role is to keep up with all
Yeah.
that. And I have to tell you, it's like drinking through a fire hose,
Yeah.
staying read up on it, going to conferences,
Yeah, I can
and making
imagine.
sure that I'm aware of the different tools that are out there and separate the wheat from the chaff. There's
Yeah.
some pretenders out there. And helping the folks that I work with who span an age.
Yeah.
Literally, I had a 27-year-old last week, and 2 weeks before that, I had an 82-year-old
Wow.
CEO. So
Wow.
helping them, access the right tools
Sure.
and stay up on it, and they know they have a resource to come
Yeah.
to when they need to know what's the latest and greatest.
5 to 7 years ago, there was a new technology that came out, It was a platform that you can log into all your social medias and do one post, and and we thought that was like, we thought that was the newest thing, and now it's like, I've been there, done that.
Right,
You know?
right.
So I know there's some different compartments, and I've heard her speak, so I got a little one-up on you. I know there's some different AI additives that can go in with your LinkedIn, Gemini, so on and so forth. Can you just say a few of those names so people will have that on their radar?
Well, there's, LinkedIn uses AI. So the important thing is to know that it's using AI, and how do you work with that?
Right.
And so when it makes recommendations to you for connections, take a look at that every day.
Absolutely.
You probably tell that when you do your LinkedIn training.
LinkedIn says, please pay, because you're getting everything. But what are some of the additional apps that work with that LinkedIn?
So, there's networking groups like Shaper that work with LinkedIn that are kind of like Tinder for people that are looking for jobs or looking for networking connections. So trying to grow your base, trying to grow your business.
Okay.
So that would be one for sure.
And that was what?
Shaper, SHAPR.
Okay, that's
So
one.
it's like Tinder for LinkedIn. So that's one. I think, again, working with the internal system that LinkedIn has is another one. And then using basic tools like ChatGPT or Grok.
This was done by ChatGPT today. There's a Gemini one or something you were talking about. What? A little bit of that one.
Yeah. So you can connect your Gemini into LinkedIn to help with outreach, and so as you're developing outreach emails or emails, it will help you with that as well. And there's other tools that you can use that just sort of automate some of the things that you do in LinkedIn. So if you go on make.com, like the word make, like I'm making a cake.com, it has all these templates of different, so LinkedIn and how you can get that to go to a spreadsheet. So you can put all of your contacts into a spreadsheet, and then how can you then email all of them in email, so it goes to your Outlook. And what I like about it is it's easy, and so even I can use it where it's very pictorial. It has a picture of the LinkedIn logo with my Outlook logo, and I know I can find a template that's going to work to kind of do the automation I want.
Sure. Now, if there's a company that's wanting to do research on your LinkedIn profile, on your LinkedIn company, and I hate putting you on the spot because you talked a little bit about it, that it can go and read that company information, like dollar amount, what they did last year, how many employees, if they're private or public.
Yeah.
Is that part of that Gemini service?
I don't think so. I don't think that's it. I haven't encountered it within Gemini and how I've used it. But what I have done though is gone through and like cut and paste. I'll use you. I'll cut and paste your LinkedIn profile and then tell ChatGPT I need to do an outreach email to Arica. Personalize it for me.
That was it. Okay, perfect. Yeah. What challenges have you faced as CEO in the rapidly changing AI industry, and how have you navigated them in the last year?
Well, one is, of course, drinking through the fire hose and just staying up. 2 months ago, AI started reasoning. So, it's not just spitting out formulas and recipes to you. It can actually kind of consider, it knows, for instance, if you need if you're going to get wet because you get in the rain, it knows to recommend an umbrella. So that's reasoning.
Wow.
It doesn't have to have been trained to say, okay, if she's worried about getting wet, and she's going to be out in the rain, she needs to bring an umbrella. We don't have to train it to do that. It can kind of make that little bit of a leap.
That is amazing.
So so just keeping up with that is a big thing.
Yeah.
The other is just getting on CEOs in particular their bandwidth, or on their radar, I should say, and having them have the bandwidth to have me over and help them with this stuff.
Yeah, it's got to be a lot of marketing and shaking hands and networking and meeting to set up those, kind of clients.
You read my marketing plan. Yes, it's exactly how it works.
It's the sharpest tool in the shed. How do you ensure that Easy AI remains innovative and competitive in such a fast-paced field?
Definitely getting out and talking to other professionals in the AI space, going to conferences. I'm going to the AI conference in San Francisco again. I went last year.
Oh, okay.
It was fun. I got to interact with robots, and I was such a nerd. I was like, oh my gosh, it's a robot. Yeah. And it was like those Boston Mechanics ones that were kind of creepy,
Oh,
the
give me
Boston
creepy
Dynamics
anytime.
Yeah, they're kind of creepy because it's kind of like, it's like that, it feels human, but it's not human.
Yeah.
It gives you that a little bit of a weird feeling.
Yeah.
But yeah, so talking to developers and leaders in the field. So at the AI conference they had the head of Google talking about Waymo and how they're using automated cars to, and self-driving cars in San Francisco.
I'm a little scared of that. I mean, I know it's today and I know it's going to be tomorrow, and eventually you're going to be able to order an Uber and it's going to fly down, pick you up, take you right where you need to go. But it, just like anything else, we have to adapt to that artificial intelligence.
And I did try a Waymo 4 times while I was in San Francisco, and I only screamed the first time. It was okay, and I was like, okay, I can do this. It's okay.
Is it herky-jerky?
No, it was really smooth, and it was crazy.
Does it use its turn signals?
It does everything. It's actually like your grandma's driving you really slow. And it's in a very busy area of San Francisco, so there's car traffic, there's people on scooters, there's people on skateboards, there's tourists, and it's navigating all of that.
Wow.
So that was really cool.
Wow.
I felt really guilty though, because I walked by a taxi driver and got into my Waymo once, and I was like, I suck as a person. What is wrong with me?
So 2024 most used analogy, moving the dial. Moving the dial was used on almost every type of presentation. Fun fact, I love putting these little fun facts in there for you. What role does ethics play in Easy AI's development and the use of artificial intelligence, and how do you approach this balance?
One of the things I was really proud of when I ran customer.com is the average tenure of employees that worked for me was 15 years.
Wow.
And that doesn't come by accident. That comes by treating each individual with respect.
Sure.
And I think leaders need to build trust. If they're going to navigate a big change with AI, there's a lot of change management that occurs.
Sure.
Because you're going to have to rethink job descriptions, and it may not be that a job is eliminated, but it's going to turn into a hybrid job where you have this tool AI that can help you be better. So getting people on board with that kind of change when they're kind of mistrustful of authority, especially in this culture these days, you need to build up your trust bank as a CEO.
Yeah.
So that's number one. Number two is, keeping employees informed about how you're going to use it. What are your goals? They're going to sniff out if it's just a big cost-cutting measure.
Sure.
So, saying no, we think that we can reduce the overall work week. And yeah, I'm going to take a little bit of that time that we're going to save just to help us stay competitive, but I want to give back 2 hours as an example. So we're going from a 34-hour week to a 32-hour week or whatever the math is.
I want to breathe.
Yeah, I believe it. You should have balance in your work and life.
Sure, absolutely.
So I think having leaders step up to that as we navigate that transition period is going to be important.
Sure. How do you see AI transforming industries outside of tech, like healthcare, education, and entertainment?
Sure. So healthcare, AI can really help them in the compliance arena. So they're all about making sure they're documenting for compliance. And so there's a big role that AI can just in your physical therapy appointment, and there's an AI that's transcribing your appointment for your PT so that they don't have to do that all themselves.
Wow.
Entertainment, you think about content generation, script writing, all those kinds of things can be augmented by AI. But think about news and reporting. A reporter can't delegate everything to AI because AI, ChatGPT's latest update was 2024, I think the end of 2024, if I'm remembering correctly, I might be wrong. So if I'm on a news thing that's happening right now in March, it's not going to work out so well. So you still need a reporter that knows how to develop rapport, build sources.
And you still got to read the teleprompter.
Yeah, and read the teleprompter. So there's all of that. Yeah.
That's amazing. What advice would you give to an aspiring entrepreneur or leaders looking to enter the AI space?
Well, first of all, I'd say if I can do it, you can do it.
I'm blown away by her today, okay?
If I can do it, you can do it.
Yeah.
And, have courage. Have courage. There's you don't have to know everything in order to start up a company. Just any kind of company, whether it's an AI enabled or not.
Sure.
But the cool thing about artificial intelligence is that it can be a big force multiplier. So it can turn you as a little single shingle consultant into feeling like you're 5 people.
Right.
And that's a huge advantage that
Yeah.
you can deploy as you
Yeah.
start your business and think about it.
Right, because you could be on the phone with a client and it's booking that appointment into the calendar yearly and doing all of that stuff behind the scenes.
Yeah.
As a CEO, how do you foster a company culture that encourages creativity, collaboration, and continuous learning?
Oh, that's a good one.
Mm-hmm. Oh, ChatGTP!
So, I think people have to have the headspace to be creative and strategic and think critically. And that doesn't work when you have an environment that's just push all the time.
I know.
People don't do their best work when they're working an 80-hour week. So if you really want to, if you're serious about fostering creativity, you need to give them that white space in their day to be able to think. You can't have meetings back to back. So that's one piece. I think you have to be also dedicated to creative time. Sometimes needs time. So one of the things that Google does that's so interesting is they allow everyone to have 20% of their time that's just their own time to work on creative projects, little side things, be innovative. And so if you are able to dedicate a percentage of time to allow that within your own organization, that can really put jet fuel into the engine in your
Absolutely. Looking ahead, what are some of the big goals and innovations that Easy AI is working towards in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, this year I want to start a Substack.
Oh.
So there's just a lot around AI and ethics and how leaders can navigate the change that I feel like I have some things to say about that. I'd like to also start offering content online so that you don't just have to show up at a time and a place, even with a Zoom or a webinar format. Sometimes that's not. So being able to have people access content whenever they want to. So those are 2 of my goals for the next year or so.
I really think COVID did a disastrous job on anybody wanting to go to anything on a Zoom call anymore. We want to be there. I want to eat the donut. I want the experience. I want the stale donut and the warm coffee. I want the experience. I don't want to sit at home. So let's go back in time to Sandra's 15-year-old self. What would be, if you could go back and have that conversation, what would you say to little 15-year-old Sandra to prepare you for where you're at in the seat right now?
Oh, that's a really good one. So one of the things my mom always would say is, you have to love yourself. Sandra, you can't expect other people to love you unless you love yourself. And that felt so hard at age 15, impossible feeling. So, I would definitely tell little Sandra today, it's okay. It's okay. You have strengths, you can develop those strengths and you be confident. And people that are, worth knowing will feel that you're worth knowing. And so
that's beautiful.
I think that would be the one thing I would say. And again, back to, if I can do it, you can do it.
Absolutely. I mean, you're a huge inspiration to me. I mean, we're in the Overcommunity Club, and it's challenging to take on new things, to learn new things, to continuously keep your mind open and absorbing so much. So we're going to fast forward to your 75-year-old self. What would be the legacy that you would want to have left behind? And what would that imprint of Easy AI be on there?
I think that I had meaningful people and relationships and I made a difference in their lives, whether it be in my personal life or through Easy AI and helping them and their businesses grow and utilize this kind of new to us technology. That's what fuels me now, and I think I'd be very proud of that to looking back at age 75.
I think that's beautiful.
Thank you.
You have a huge speaking event coming up. Tell us a little bit about that.
I'm speaking with the Littleton Metro group, business group, May 8th. As part of their curriculum that they have going on that day. They have a bunch of speakers lined up and I'm one of those speakers.
Absolutely. And where can our viewers find you? What's your handles on LinkedIn and website and all that good information?
So LinkedIn is just Sandra Gudat, and that's spelled in the German French way, Gudat, just to throw a monkey wrench in everything. I've been spelling my name my whole life. Sandra Gudat is LinkedIn. EasyAI.org is the website, and those are the 2 best ways to get a hold of me.
Okay, and then, I don't even have to ask this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. In your LinkedIn, in your contact, is all of that website and information all there?
It's all there.
There you
reach
go,
out
kids.
to me.
We're going to switch gears a little bit, and we're going to talk about some amazing things coming up. March the 21st, right here today with this gorgeous view, we are in Serendipity Labs. We have the Nonprofit Networking Breakfast Summit. It's going to be starting at 7:30 in the morning with some amazing network for 45 minutes until breakfast is over. And then we're going to go to our speaking event. And then after our speaking event, we've got 45 more minutes of networking. There's going to be nonprofits, companies that want to work with them, chambers of commerces, 3 in fact. Denver News 7 will be in the house filming and snapping photos, so dress to impress because you want to look amazing, making those connections. And the whole premise for the event is for nonprofits to network with one another and buddy up on services and things that each other needs, and then the companies that want to work with them. And hopefully that equals out to writing a check and wanting to, help that group or individual. We have some incredible high caliber nonprofits and companies from the Denver metro area coming. Make sure you're putting that on your calendar. If you're wanting to reserve a space here at Serendipity for maybe a day of working, or you have a huge presentation, or maybe you're wanting to do some off-site interviewing where people aren't coming in and out of the business, disrupting everybody there and people trying to figure out what's going on, you can do all of those wonderful things here at Serendipity Labs. For more information, you can Google Serendipity Labs, and that's in Lodo, and speak with Morgan or Cassie. They're the lab managers, and they'll get those reservations for those events. We're going to switch into restoration. This weekend we have a very nasty cold front coming where we will be into the low teens. So if you are experiencing pipes busting, maybe that old water heater just can't hold up in that intense cold from going from 67 to 17, and it goes, unfortunately, we're here for you at Restoration 1 of West Denver for fire, flood, abatement, mold and mildew. We can take care of all of those things and get you back in your home and everything repaired easily and quickly. All my contact information is inside LinkedIn. If that unfortunately happens to your home or your business, we are here for you. Ladies and gentlemen, that's been our show. Sandra, thanks so much for coming on to the podcast today. We really appreciate that. And I just want to send a special thank you. A thank you to all of our viewers. These episodes are now getting watched 4 and 5 and 6,000 times per episode, and I just made this in September 2024. I need you to comment down. No, I'm just playing. We're really super duper excited and over the moon. We have some huge announcements that we will be releasing within the next month. We did a large collaboration with another company that's doing our website, our hosting, our visibility throughout all things AI, like Google, and like Spotify, and RSS feed. So more things are coming. Just makes the viewership for you folks so much more pleasant to view. We'll be having microphones and larger cameras and things of that nature coming as well from this merger that we're doing. And our goal is within the next 6 months to start working